It is about 10 o'clock on Friday night, and Kendall and I are rushing to the emergency room. She's had an uncontrollable amount of pain this evening, like out of nowhere, and our doctors have directed us to the local emergency room to get some imaging done, to do an x-ray and do some lab work and kind of figure out if we can paint a picture of what's happening from there. Hopefully we get some answers tonight and get something sorted out, and we can get Kendall home before tomorrow morning. Okay, we got things going. They've got her some morphine, so she's nice and comfortable and much less pain now. I think she's mostly asleep at this point. We've also done x-ray, lab work, some additional nausea meds, and it's kind of about it. We've got some extra fluids going as well. So yeah, we're just kind of waiting to see what lab results show, if there's anything to tell from anything in the x-ray. But we just sit here and wait at this point. Okay, it is now 3:45, and they're sending us up to Charleston to our regular hospital, find out a little bit more what's going on. We really don't have any answers. Blood work all looked kind of as expected. X-rays didn't really show anything. She's got some pain meds on board, some morphine, Zofran. We give her another dose of each of those. So now we're gonna hit the road. We've got a probably hour and a half, 2-hour drive to that hospital, and still probably a long night / morning ahead of us. This is not at all how I pictured the weekend to go. We finally got here to our normal hospital at like 5:30 a.m. She's asleep. She's been getting, scheduled morphine since we left the last hospital, which is keeping her comfortable, but something's obviously not right. I just spoke with the doctors, and the plan right now is that there is no plan. And I say that sort of loosely. They're trying to put together a plan. They're trying to better understand what's happening with Kendall, where this pain is coming from, the output from her G-tube. If you've been following, you know this. She's got this G-tube that we have to drain into a bag, or otherwise she'll throw up because she's got this obstruction, blah, blah, blah. Like, that doesn't look right, the color of it. So, everyone's pretty concerned and trying to figure out, like, what's the best way to figure out what's happening. So it looks like there's likely a CT scan that's going to happen. They'd like to try to avoid that if possible, because the contrast that they have to inject in her for that is harmful to her kidney. She only has that one kidney left. So we're playing a bit of a juggling act right now, trying to balance risk and reward, getting the best bang for our buck with anything that we do, try to figure out what's going on. But I do have a little bit of good news. She had a PET scan the other day, and we was just looking at the report with the doctor, and it's showing that the lesions on her liver, the spots on her liver that originally they couldn't see, and then they were there, and they were sort of not terribly concerned about them, but then they started to respond. They are still shrinking after that last round of chemo and immunotherapy. The liver spots have shrunk even more, so that's great news. It continues to respond to the chemo immunotherapy. The lymph node that's causing the obstruction in her gut still mostly just unchanged. That's the biggest pain point for us and for her right now. Not being able to eat, having an obstruction in her gut, all that stuff. So a little bit of good news there. We're still responding at the liver spots. We were supposed to be here, so today, for reference, today is Saturday, probably the day before you guys watch this. We were supposed to be back here Monday anyways to start another round of that chemo immunotherapy, but I don't know that will happen now until we sort out what's happening with this pain. Okay, so I finally got to speak with the surgeon, old school OG surgeon, very experienced. They're going to order a CT scan This is the drawing he drew me. Let me see if I can explain it to you. So this is her stomach presently. This is the obstruction in this image that we know about already. And she has the J tube that goes and feeds past this obstruction. He's concerned that there might be an additional obstruction here, and it's causing this to swell up and enlarge, which is causing the pain. Seems logical. I mean, we're all very familiar with her situation, so seems pretty plausible to me, but we're just going to have to wait for the CT scan to find out. Anything that right now that's being talked about is just purely speculation, but at least they have some idea of what they're trying to chase at the moment. So things just went from 0 to 100 real quick. CT scan turned into them reviewing it. Now we are rushing Kendall into an emergency surgery to fix an additional obstruction in her gut that's being caused by an adhesion from the previous surgery, and it has pulled and twisted her gut over on top of itself. So they might go ahead and fix the other one, bypass the other obstruction while they're in there, which would be fantastic to just get all this stuff knocked out. I'm gonna get her prepped and ready for surgery, but that's what we're dealing with. And I have mixed emotions. I know I'm going fast. I have mixed emotions right now on things, but right now, like, there's just a job to do. We got to get Kendall better and hope everyone is like on the up and up tonight and does a great job. That's what I'm thinking about right now. All right, she's off to surgery, and I have just like a knot in my stomach over the whole thing. It's hard to believe that this is where we're at today, because yesterday, before she went into pain around 5 p.m., she was great. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been really quite good. She was out getting her nails done, watching movies, doing school, like really doing well, and then suddenly it was like a switch flipped and she ends up like this blockage and needing emergency surgery. It's just unbelievable to me that that's like even possible. And then coming back up to the room, and it's empty and it's just me, and generally with these big surgeries it's been myself and Brandy, and she's on her way now. She ended up taking Hannah to my mom's house, just dropping her off, and she's on her way up here now. But it's heavy. It's a lot to be here by myself in Kendall's room without Kendall while she's having an emergency surgery done. And I'm like a mixed bag of emotions between like sad, upset, angry, all kinds of things running through my head. Mostly just hoping that they get this problem corrected and we can get her healed from this. And I just don't want to go back in there again. I'm hoping, and I was talking to the surgeon, I was talking to our team of doctors here, and like everyone agrees that the best option is to go in and just fix both obstructions now, because it's going to cost her some time to heal, that she can't get any treatments by doing just even the one surgery. So I might as well get both of the problems out of the way and let her just heal once, and then we can move on from there with the next round of treatments, the next whatever, to continue to attack that cancer and to also prevent it from growing again and spreading and that sort of thing. So it's a sticky situation. There's a lot of nuances and details and stuff around all of it, But that's kind of where we're at. I know this video is quite random and sporadic, and I think that's just due to the nature of what's happening and all the unknowns. And I document this stuff for myself too. I know that you guys like the updates, but I do it for myself therapeutically. It keeps my mind at ease, I think is probably the right way to put it, doing this. And I also know that I'll like fixate on all the small minor details of what's happened, hoping to remember it all. So me being, you know, able to make these videos is just as much for myself and for our family as it is because so many of you guys care about Kendall, and I really appreciate that. So anyways, I'm gonna hop off of here for now, and hopefully, you know, within the next 2 to 3 hours, Kendall is out of surgery and they call me and say everything went great, and I'll meet her down in the recovery room. By then, Brandy should be here, and I'll keep you guys in the loop. Okay, surgery went well. It was kind of different from what we expected. I'll explain everything in just a second. Ended up being roughly 4-hour surgery. She got done at what time was it, Brandy? Like 1 or 2 a.m. or something?
2 o'clock.
They ended up moving us down to the ICU from our normal hem-onc room, which we weren't really anticipating, so it was sort of a mad scramble there at the end, like pack everything up and move it down here. So Kendall's back here recovering, and she's doing quite well, so we'll be headed back upstairs soon. So here's sort of what happened with surgery and how everything played out, now that I have more information and I can explain it better to you guys. Ultimately, she ended up having a closed loop obstruction in her intestines. This is kind of roughly what it looks like, for reference, and it's caused from scar tissue. It's an adhesion from prior surgeries that have sort of wrapped itself up with the gut and pinched it closed, causing this closed loop obstruction. So he went in and cleaned that up. He removed a bunch of different scar tissue adhesions and things like that were in there, which is all caused from prior surgeries and mobilizing her intestines in these past surgeries, and that just creates scar tissues. And this is just, unfortunately, one of the risks of those surgeries that she had. And then we were hopeful that while they were in there, they would go ahead and just do the bypass of where the lymph node was said to be pinching the intestines closed, which is why she's been on the feeding pump and all that. And this is where the obstruction that she has is currently, and that J tube goes from her stomach here through the duodenum and then past the obstruction and stops about here. When he got in there and saw what was going on and he sorted out that first issue, then he kind of moved on to inspect what was going on there. And the thought of the enlarged lymph node pinching her intestines closed at the duodenum is, he didn't see that. He seemed to think that things were pretty clear, pretty open, but he did see a big blood vessel that supplies blood to the gut, which is part of the risk of trying to remove the lymph node because it's kind of entangled and wrapped up with that as well. But it's laying across the duodenum in a way that is just applying pressure and causing a slight, I don't even want to say it's an obstruction because he didn't seem to think it was really an obstruction. There's a name for it. It's called anterior something or other, and I don't recall what it's named here, but you can see in this picture here if it's laying across this area how it would kind of close that off a little bit. So once she kind of recovers a little bit, they are going to scope her, they'll put a camera down, and they want to get a better look at the inside of that and what's going on. He said that the surgery for that, there is a fix for that, and it would be to basically cut the duodenum, splice it, and put it over top of that blood vessel rather than under it. He's like, it's a completely different thing than what he was expecting to see, and it's a totally different problem. So he's like, I didn't want to mess with it while I was in there. We wanted to fix the closed loop obstruction. He said that it pinked back up. It got good blood supply back. They were able to salvage it and save it, and there's no damage. They were at one point concerned that they might have to do a resection of that intestine, that bowel section. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. So really, he seemed to be quite encouraged by what he saw in there, so that made me feel good. A really seasoned surgeon. He's been doing gut surgeries for like 40 years, so I have a lot of trust and faith in what he said. So anyways, now we just recover. Hopefully we get back up to our room upstairs and get home before too long. But I'm going to wrap it up here so I can get this video up, and we'll probably just pick up from here for next week. But thank you guys so much for watching and caring about Kendall. We really appreciate it, and see you in the next video. Peace.